Now we move to the second speaker, Mr. Jeffrey Schlagenhauf. He is the Deputy Secretary General of the OECD. Very often members confuse OECD and OSCE. We deal with security and cooperation. They deal with economic development. He served as the head of the Economic Policy Division within the White House Office of Management and Budget, and he has extensive knowledge of government, national and state legislation, and political and public affairs, as well as a vast experience in the Congressional Joint Economic Committee of the US Senate and the US House of Representatives. So you know this platform, Professor, you know the members of parliament and their needs, so I yield the floor to you for your presentation.
Thank you very much, dear President, dear parliamentarians, colleagues, good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me to speak to you today in these challenging times as we face a public health crisis without precedent in living memory that continues to result in widespread loss of life and severe human suffering. As governments take all necessary steps to contain the spread of the coronavirus, a large part of the world is facing stringent containment measures. Activity in many sectors has been shut down completely. Travel and mobility have been curtailed, and financial conditions have tightened abruptly. While it is extremely difficult to quantify the exact magnitude of the impact of the crisis on growth, high-frequency indicators in most of the countries throughout the world. Let me point out just a few. In the 4 weeks since mid-March, 22 million Americans, over 13% of the US labor force, have filed new jobless claims. International flight departures from many countries are down 90%. Global oil demand has so fast that supply cuts can't keep up. As a result, the price of oil in the United States fell as low as minus $40 US dollars per barrel this week, as producers paid buyers to take the oil off their hands due to a lack of storage capacity. Composite PMIs, a measure of activity in both the manufacturing and service sectors, have declined drastically into contradictory territory in the US, the Euro area, the UK, and Japan. While the longer-term consequences of the pandemic are still clouded by the fog of containment measures, we will face a wide range of serious policy problems. These include rising sovereign debt levels, an increasing number of corporate insolvencies triggering state interventions that will likely distort market competition, changes in supply chain management towards more emphasis on security of supply, the shortening and diversification of supply chains, as well as a potential long-term rise in unemployment, especially in the most affected sectors, such as international tourism, where preliminary OECD estimates suggest a decline of up to 70% in 2020. Long story short, many economies are facing their largest economic downturn since the Great Depression in the 1930s, outweighing anything experienced even during the global financial crisis in 2008, 2009. In this situation, we'll be faced with difficult choices requiring you to consider trade-offs between addressing the public health crisis and limiting the economic damage that it has caused and will continue to cause for the foreseeable future. The importance of getting it right cannot be underestimated. We have seen confidence in government and other institutions decline over the past decades. Governments will be judged on their ability to manage the crisis, not only in an effective, but also in a transparent and accountable manner. Taxpayers will want to be sure that they don't pay for wages, food programs, or medical supplies that never arrive. You parliamentarians have a special oversight role to play here. If we do get it right, we will do a lot to restore trust among citizens. If we don't, we will all pay a very steep price. The OECD is investing significant capacity to monitor and analyze policy responses across countries to support them in their crisis response and recovery. We enable exchange and provide advice SME policy and tax administration to employment, education, public governance, striving to help governments evaluate the cost and benefits of various policy options. Yet while there is no silver bullet to address existing and emerging challenges, one thing is certain: we will only be able to emerge from this unprecedented global crisis if we work together as governments, as legislators, as international organizations, in short, as an international community. The OECD itself was born from the ashes of 2 world wars. As the home of the Marshall Plan, it is living proof of what we can achieve together in the aftermath of a crisis. I believe we need nothing short of a new Marshall Plan, and a truly global one, to address the enormity of the COVID crisis and to emerge stronger and better prepared for future shocks. A good place to start is to paraphrase George Marshall's 1947 commencement address at Harvard University, to say, it is logical that we should do whatever we can to assist in the return of normal economic health in the world, without which there is no political stability and no assured peace. While the OECD as an organization has grown since the days of the Marshall Plan, one fundamental has not. This is our commitment to international solidarity. We stand ready to work with governments and other international organizations such as the OSCE to ensure that collectively we will recover, rebuild, and rebuild better. Thank you very much for the opportunity to address you all. It's a great honor, and I look forward to the discussion.
And thank you very much, Deputy Secretary General, for stressing the importance of international cooperation. This is exactly what we're trying to do this at the level of members of parliament.